Welcome to Red Light Green Light Gaming. We hope you're having an amazing day. Ubisoft released Tom Clancy's The Division worldwide on March 8th of 2016. It was developed by Massive Entertainment and published by Ubisoft with assistance from Red Storm Entertainment and Ubisoft ANSI. The Division received generally favorable reviews from mainstream reviewers like Metacritic, IGN, and GameSpot. Ubisoft was quick to announce The Division broke company records, including the highest number of first-day sales, breaking the record previously set by Watch Dogs in 2014, becoming the company's best-selling game. The Division also broke the industry's record for biggest first-week launch for a new intellectual property or IP, generating an estimated $330 million globally. However, things quickly went downhill, with players finding a growing list of problems. The Dark Zone was riddled with hackers and still is to this day. The Dark Zone being the rather small area of the map that is PvP. The PvE players were also not happy. It seemed like little to no thought had been given on what players were going to do at the in-game phase, leaving players that had put a lot of hours in very frustrated. If you wanted to grind missions to get amazing loot, you would wind up getting a purple beanie, not that high-end gun or gear set piece you wanted. Massive Entertainment would spend the next year and a half trying to fix all the problems in the game and bring players back. This seems to be an ever-growing trend with Ubisoft lately. Towards the end of 2017, Massive ended up bringing back Red Storm Entertainment, who had worked with them on the original development, and talking to a couple of YouTubers, one of them being MacroStyle, that really seemed to know what was wrong with their game, and having a channel pretty much dedicated to The Division. Patch 1.8 came out of all this. There had been many patches before, but 1.8 really seemed to be a big step in the right direction. This patch addressed a lot of things, changing how the loot drops worked, allowing players to receive the loot they had been wanting in more ways, adding a new area to the map, exotic weapons, more gear sets, and changing the way a lot of the in-game mechanics worked. I know this is a huge oversimplification on this, but I didn't want to bore people to death listing on how all the patches had affected the game. This brings us to the announcement of The Division 2, and that we would be seeing gameplay at this year's E3. Then at E3, players were shown a typical cheesy Ubisoft trailer, very reminiscent of the first Division trailer from years ago, with laughable communication that you would not hear in a game, even among friends.
Oh, that'll come in handy.
Trying to convince us that this clan was really playing this game that is not done yet. Oh, Ubisoft. They also showed a very badly thought out after-show demo with one of the devs playing the game as they were trying to ask him questions, and talking to a couple of devs on a couch. Audio levels were horrible, so gun sounds hampered being able to hear what was being said at times. That brings us to the new gameplay. Is there enough of a change to bring players back that are a bit bored with shooting the same looking enemies over and over again to get the classified gear set and do the same missions over and over? The interview with the developers was handled in a very typical fashion. The person doing the interview did not really seem to know anything about the first game, so you were left shouting at your screen, "Can someone please ask a relevant question?" Are there going to be more diverse enemies in The Division 2? This was only touched on briefly, saying that there would be a few different fractions in the game, but the enemies that made up these fractions would be different than the first. The boss we saw in the new gameplay pretty much looked like the armored boss in the first game, with little new things being shown like shooting the boss in the leg causing him to drop down on that knee, and a new type of enemy with sticky foam guns. But along with that, we got shown a lot of the same mechanics, like shooting the boss in the spot on the backpack to kill him. How many new weapons are there going to be? We saw a quick glimpse of one new gun as the clan member opens his inventory to change weapons. How about exotic weapons? The first game really needed more. How are the gear sets going to work? The only thing mentioned was that there would be what the devs called branded gear. So many players play the Division 1 to get the classified gear set for their build. Are these going to be in the Division 2? What about character customizations? All the hairstyles shown in the gameplay are from the first game, and there wasn't that many in the Division 1. You can also see one player from the new gameplay footage messing around using the dance emote, but it's the same emote from the first game. How about the map? We know it takes place in Washington, D.C., and it's 20% bigger, and that's about it. You can briefly see it on the gameplay trailer when one of the clan members opens the map for a second. The graphics on the map did look very nice, but so did the map of New York from the Division 1. The game looking nice was never the problem, downgrades aside. The way you could just fast travel pretty much wherever you wanted to go. That system always seemed strange. The Division 1 always begged the question, why make a huge open world game if after you play the mission for the first time you can just fast travel to that mission? But there was really no reason to run from place to place in the first game. The only thing in the open PvE area are easy street mobs, and the open world bosses are way too easy to fight once you have good gear, even when the open world is set to Tier 5 difficulty, which is the most difficult setting. The dev said that the NPCs in the Division 2 are dynamic. What does that mean? It would have been great to know if the 20% bigger open world map being made for the second game would give players a reason to run through it. Massive did say that the Dark Zone is making a comeback, but really nothing else. How will the Dark Zone be used in the second game? That is another huge thing players of the first game want to know. Many areas of the map of New York from the first game felt very empty, with many spots on the map not really being used for much, if at all. This is a design you will see in a lot of Ubisoft open-world games. The main base of operations, also called the Post Office, is a very large indoor space in the game, used a lot in the campaign. However, after you go through the campaign, you really have no reason to step foot in there other than to check the one cosmetic vendor. Most players hang out in the terminal while in between missions. This area is located below the base of operations and was added after the release of the game, when the underground was added. The underground also felt very cut off due to the way it was separated from the rest of the map. You first had to own the DLC to take the elevator down to the underground. Once down there, you could not go anywhere else on the map without taking the elevator back up and sitting through a loading screen both ways, leaving it feeling very claustrophobic. At several times while watching the new gameplay, you would say, that mechanic's back from the first game? I hope it does something different in this one. Like seeing the NPCs that ask for consumables as you run by them. In the first game, you got random clothes from them, then later after you had most of the clothes, they would drop really low-level guns for some reason. One of the first things stated by the devs when the stage show started was that they had thought of the end game first when designing the Division 2. Saying that the higher your level, the more there is to do. This did sound great, as this is not the case in the Division 1. As you get higher in level and get better gear, you have less to do. You cannot do all the missions in the game on the hardest difficulty, leaving players grinding the same missions over and over. Lately, they did add the harder difficulty to 4 more missions, now allowing players to play 8 out of the 16 missions on the legendary difficulty. But not all of them, and this always felt strangely unfinished. So how did they design the end game for the Division 2? 8-player raids sound great, but what else? The Division 1 does have small 4-man raids called incursions, but 2 out of 4 of them are locked behind DLC. In several interviews with one developer, he hinted about it, saying that there was something that was going to grab players by the scruff of the neck and drag them through the end game. Really? That sounds amazing. Oh, but you can't talk about it. The announcement of the first year of DLC being free sounds great. However, this is Ubisoft we're talking about. If you scroll down to the bottom of the Division 2 news page, it says this: for those who want even more content, an optional premium pass will give you access to 1 year of exclusive add-ons. The YouTuber Skills Up directly asked about this in an interview with the developers. I will link the interview below. They stumbled in response, saying that they were not sure what that involved. What? That doesn't sound good. Some of the community has said that they think it's just to get some in-game cosmetics, but if that's the case, why hide it at the bottom of the news page, and why be so evasive when asked? You would think that they would be a bit nervous presenting a business model like this. The last time we saw a game marketed this way was Battlefront 2, with game progression revolving around loot boxes. It would seem, though, that that disaster is still pretty fresh in players' mind to try that with the Division 2. The first game does have loot boxes in it, but they only contain cosmetic items, and you can earn keys to open them through doing achievements. Even the way they showed the first year of DLC gave little to no information on it other than it's broken up into 3 episodes, but nothing on what those would contain. You would think that they would want to explain this first year of content better, especially since Ubisoft is trying to move into the live service model more and more. The reception for the Division 2 seems to have mixed reactions, with many casual players liking what they saw, and hardcore players hoping the developers aren't going the way of Destiny 2, dumbing everything down, making it more appealing to casual players. It is rumored that besides Massive Entertainment and Red Storm Entertainment, 4 Ubisoft companies are working on The Division 2, including Ubisoft Reflections, also working on The Crew 2, Ubisoft Annecy, Ubisoft Shanghai, and Ubisoft Bucharest. That brings the total amount of people working on it to well over 1,000 people, making it the largest development group in the company's history. When contacted about this, they responded saying that this was just a rumor and they would not comment on it. Now that E3 is over, several YouTubers like MacroStyle have painstakingly analyzed all the gameplay footage, answering some of these questions. But there is still a lot of unanswered questions. I will link his channel below as well. The developers did go over some stuff on their awkward state of the game streams, but they are pretty difficult to sit through, having little to no organization and production value. It doesn't appear that their streams are watched by the majority of their target audience, judging by their views. But with how hard it is to sit through their state of the game posts, I'm surprised that they have as many as they do. If you have not had that experience, I will link that below as well. I really do enjoy The Division 1, repetitive gameplay aside. It is one of the few RPGs that deals with real-world guns. In the end, we are left with a lot of questions. As we get closer to release, I'm sure we will learn more. But some things in life we will never know the answers to. Like, why are you always hot in Ark? And why are there so many 8-year-olds in Rust? Are you looking forward to The Division 2? Do you enjoy playing the first Division? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. This is our first video on this channel. If you would like to join us for weekly game discussions, maybe subscribe. Thank you for watching. We look forward to talking with you in the next one. Have an amazing day.